We are at Doherty's Gym, Brunswick. Tony Doherty's original location here just outside of Melbourne. I'm gonna give you guys some tricep training tips this morning. Triceps have always been a body part that I've fortunately been able to connect well with, and I feel that I could offer you guys some valuable insight into maximizing your training of them. So come inside, let's check it out, and let's see what we can do. We're gonna start with some rope extensions. The way that I like to do them, the way that I found most effective. It's a little bit more difficult, but it puts a lot of tension more directly in the belly of the muscle, okay? First of all, look at the grip that I've got, okay? I'm holding it like this. I'm not up here, I'm right here. I got my elbows out. I've got the rope right underneath my chest, down and squeeze. Spreading the ropes at the bottom. This is a little bit light. You're gonna need to get just the right amount of weight. You don't want it too heavy because then you're gonna resort to using joint strength rather than the belly of the muscle. And of course, you wanna squeeze at the bottom. You don't need to squeeze and hold, but you do wanna lock it out. I like to do a couple of high rep sets in the beginning just to drive a lot of blood in there. Okay, so I can set up one attachment on one side, set up another one over here, and make for a quick, easy superset. I'm gonna bring it right here underneath my chest. Come down and squeeze. This, I'm gonna really make it a point to lock it out. Keeping my elbows flared out at the top in order to get in close enough so it's comfortable. You're gonna have to put your head to one side of the cable. But you really wanna squeeze all the way down. Wow. Whew. It's not super heavy, but holy shit, it burns. Keep the tempo slow. Up slow, squeeze. Up slow, squeeze. And grip the bar hard. I mean, really, I feel that in my whole tricep. This head, outer head, everything. Oof. Instant pump. Wow. You know, and if you're keeping your head to the right side of the cable for 5 reps, then alternate it. Bring it over to the left side for the next 5 reps. And that sounds stupid, but it definitely, anytime there's asymmetry in what you're doing, you know, if one foot's in front of the other, or your head's off to one side, your spine is crooked, it is gonna affect the way things are developing. So, that being said, you know, if you know you're gonna be doing something where there's gonna be planned asymmetry, your head's gonna be off to one side, then make sure you're conscious of that and balance it. It's my last one here. My triceps are actually on fire. They're pretty full with blood and they feel good. This is good because now when I move on to a heavier movement, some type of free weight movement, there shouldn't be any pain in the joint. And like I said, you know, I know a lot of you guys watching this might be younger. And, you know, I remember when I used to come in the gym and, you know, just throw a plate, 2 plates on the bar and do skull crushers and not warm up. And guys would, you know, older guys in the gym would cringe and they would go, oh, you're gonna pay for that in a few years. I was like, what? There's no way. I feel great. I'm gonna feel like this forever. But sure enough, I ended up feeling it. And again, this isn't just about being prudent, but this is about making your workouts more effective, because now when you do go on to a compound movement, trust me, you're gonna connect really, really well with it. You might have to use a little bit less weight, but I'm telling you, it's gonna yield a better result. That's enough here. Now, you guys do keep in mind that if you're training your back very heavy, you're training your chest very heavy, you're gonna use a lot of shoulder and a lot of arms in both of those body parts. A lot of times, I think guys, and this isn't just coming from someone who has genetically good shoulders and arms. Those were, coming up, those were always my better body parts. It's not just coming from me. I've seen this a lot of times in people that I help. A lot of times when you scale back their arm training and shoulder training, they begin to grow more. So a lot of guys, you dedicate a whole day to just training your arms. Most of the time it's not necessary. If you're training, you're doing a lot of heavy barbell presses for your chest training and a lot of heavy rowing movements for your back, already you're hitting a lot of bicep and tricep. So keep that in mind. Next in the order, we're gonna do some dips. Now dips obviously being a multi-joint exercise. And there are some shoulders involved, there's some chest involved, but having pre-exhausted my triceps, right now, they're crazy pumped. So when I do this movement, I'm gonna be able to do it in a way that that keeps the tension on my triceps. Versus if I were to come in cold and do this, I'd probably shift a lot more of the emphasis to my chest, and because I wouldn't be able to get such a strong mind muscle connection. So doing this now, it's gonna, in my estimation, be more effective. Now, when you're doing something like dips, being a pressing movement, this goes for any pressing movement. Whether you're doing chest, barbell presses, whether you're doing squats, what part you're pushing with. Now, obviously, we're doing dips, what part of the hand we're pushing with, how we're flaring our elbows, right? Same concept as when you squat. So what part of the foot you're pushing with, how you're flaring your knees will impact the stress that you're putting on the muscle or lack thereof. So don't be afraid to fool with your positioning, how much you flare your arms or don't, keeping them tight to your body. I prefer, when I'm doing triceps, this is actually awesome because you could adjust the width. If you use parallel bars that are too narrow, it's gonna be difficult for you to get a whole lot out of it. If they're too wide, you're gonna use too much chest. So find something that's comfortable to you and allows you to keep the stress on the muscle. I like to keep it wide enough so I can get enough reps out of it. And believe it or not, use a little bit of chest when I start to fail, okay? That's cheating those extra couple reps. If you do, we're doing a compound movement, essentially. So it's not an isolation movement. It's actually an advantage that as my triceps start to fail, I can call upon my chest to assist my triceps to get a couple more reps. Whereas on an isolation movement, when we're dead, we're just dead and we have to stop if we're gonna maintain really strict form. So be conscious of that. That's, using some chest, using some shoulders is not always a bad thing, as long as you save it for a little later on in the set. I'm gonna try moving this one in just a hair, one notch, get a little more narrow. See how that feels. Whew. Oh. You know, a lot of times when I train a body part, like say for example, chest, I'll alternate between say a fly movement and a pressing movement. Similarly, when I'm training triceps, I like to go from an extension movement, right? Then go to a pressing movement. I'll go back to an extension movement and maybe finish with one more pressing movement. Just like when I train chest or legs, you know, extension, press. An extension movement, press. Same thing with chest. Fly, press, fly, press. You know, you don't always have to save the isolation movements for the end of your workout. You don't always have to press first. Nothing says you have to do your pressing movements. You know, a lot of times guys will say, well, I'm gonna do all my pressing movements first and then I'll do all my fly movements last. I don't know, you know, that's not a rule. You don't have to abide by that. So right now, seeing as we went from extensions to dips, now I'm gonna go back to doing single behind the head extensions. This is a movement that I did really from the beginning. I remember doing this in my basement when I started out. So I really didn't have a ton of equipment. I didn't have any ropes or pulleys. I had dumbbells, I had a barbell, and using the dumbbell to just do an extension was one of the most rudimentary but effective things you could do. And I still do it to this day. I'm gonna show you though a couple things that I think will help to make it more effective for you. So I'm gonna do it and then I'm gonna explain it after. I started off doing this in my basement as one of my primary mass builders that I use to build my arms. And like I said, be conscious of trying to keep your tricep north-south, keep it perpendicular to the floor, get a good stretch in the muscle belly. Try to keep as much stress as you can off your elbows. Now, what I want to point out is that when I did that, I make it a point to bring my arm over as far as I can behind my head so that the dumbbell is coming down directly behind my head. Okay, my arm's not out here. Try to get it so that my tricep is perpendicular to the floor. It's going directly up and down. That'll allow you to put the greatest amount of stress right in the belly of the tricep. So last in the order, we're gonna do an overhead cable extension. Now, if you notice, I picked a cable that has this post here. That's for a reason, okay? What that's gonna allow me to do is butt myself up against it, okay? That prevents me from having to take a stance like this, which I don't like as much. I don't think it's comfortable, and it is asymmetrical. I got 1 foot forward versus here. I can set up nice and square. I can adjust my torso to change where my tricep is at, okay? Because when you do a movement like this, what you want is your tricep to be parallel to the ground, okay? You don't want your triceps up high. You don't want them down here. Triceps parallel to the ground and extend, all right? And what I'm gonna do is a drop set. Again, straight out with your arms. The good thing about a movement like this, it's very difficult not to screw it up, but even as you start to fail, there's nothing you could really do to cheat it. You're pretty much always using your triceps. Even if you start to bring your torso into play a little bit, it's pretty much all tricep. One of the great things about this movement is that it really allows a great stretch in your tricep, similar to the overhead dumbbell extension. But for some of you who might find that painful, because it does put a little bit of stress on the elbow joint, this might be a little bit more comfortable. You talk to some guys, you'll learn that a lot of guys who have a torn tricep, a lot of them have done it doing some type of overhead movement. So if you can get away with it, feels good, by all means. If not, this is a good alternative. And like I said, of course, you can always add it in addition to that. Whew. And that's a wrap. Believe it or not, even in that short workout, I pretty much don't even have a pump in my tricep anymore because I've already done probably more than I needed to. All right, I hope that I was able to give you guys some decent insight into what a typical tricep workout would be for me. Now, the workout I did today is pretty close to what I would do in a typical tricep workout. Even though I'm on the road, I'm not at my home gym. You know, do things, even when I'm at home, a lot of times I do things in different orders, pick some different movements. A lot of times I go by feel. And I don't have a predetermined amount of sets or reps or even movements in my head. I'm not usually, to give you some type of framework, I usually know I'm gonna do at least 2 movements, usually 3, sometimes up to 4. I probably wouldn't do more than 4. And in terms of sets and reps within each movement, I would probably do, well, an absolute minimum of 2 sets. A lot of times usually 3, and probably not more than 4. Reps, usually nothing under 8. Could be as high as 20 to 30. So I hope that this workout gave you some insight. I hope you're able to find some of these tips valuable. This is stuff that I've learned over the years, and it's helped me a lot, and I hope it helps you too.